Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Mochen La'ira online smicha. One of the most important duties of a dayan is to instill shalom ben adam l'chavere, ben ish le'ishtoi. And ben adam l'chavere, one of the common problems or issues that there are between people is landlord and tenant. Of course, rental payments, etc., etc. Interesting shaila that's brought in Poskim is what happens if a tenant lives in the house and suddenly it got infested with bugs or rats, mice, or whatever. And now the expense is to hire an exterminator to clean it up. Who is responsible to pay for the expense of the exterminator? So the Mishnah says in Baba Basra, Daf Kuf Aleph, the Mishnah says that in general, the way we look at which expenses there is between a landlord and a tenant, it says like this, that the rule of thumb stated is that a landlord is responsible for repairs that require professional service. Anything that needs professional service for the structure of the building, he is responsible to pay. The Rishonim qualified the landlord is only liable for professional repairs that are considered significant for proper dwelling. Things that if something needs a professional repair, but it's not make it or break, you can live without it in the house, then that's not called it's not called like I didn't give you a dwelling place. If you need professional help to be able to live there, to make it a proper dwelling, only then the landlord is responsible to pay. However, Poskim say that this responsibility that the landlord has is only if something is internal issue in the house, something that comes external, something that's a problem that came from outside or something like that. That's not what the landlord is responsible to pay. Now I have to give an introduction. All these discussions that we have will be null and void in two other situations. Which situation? First of all, hakol ha'ilchin achar Medina, meaning to say, if you live in a city, you live in a state, and there is a set custom, there's a set rule, what the landlord has to provide and what the tenant has to pay for, know about it, or not know about it. Either way, if a fight breaks out eventually, you follow the custom, because that's the standard, that when you come in to do a rental, you assume that you're just going to follow the standard procedures of every landlord and tenant. So if there is a procedure in order, any dinner de malchusa, who pays for this, this wouldn't be a discussion. We're only talking about where there is no standard for this, so this is a dispute between two people. Another situation where this won't apply is there's a rule Chazal say kol tnai sheb'momen kayin, which means to say any deal that two people make up, like it or not like it. No one asked you to say this, but if you committed to a certain deal, to a certain condition, and you made a kinyan and you committed to it, you have to honor it. So if this is something that which was written in a contract in advance, whether you're going to pay for the whether you're going to pay for the exterminating or you're not going to pay for it, if it was written in the contract and both of you agreed, there is no challenge later on. We just acknowledge what was agreed in advance, and that's what you have to honor, because every condition that you accept, you must honor. The whole discussion that we're having now is only if there was no discussion about this and there is no minhag medina. So what we have from here is that a landlord is responsible to pay for any repairs that need professional help for the internal existence of the bias. Anything which is external, you don't need. So the question is, what happens to a situation like a exterminator? So some want to bring an example from the Mishnah Baba Metzia, where it talks about if I rented a horse or a donkey from you, and midway or mid-time that I had it rented, the government decided to take it, and I I can't. They take it because the king has to pass by and he needs the extra horse or whatever. Who has to pay for this? Meaning to say, do I have right? Do I have right to demand for another? Does he have right for me to pay him? I should pay him full price, or if I paid him already, could I get my money back? And the answer is, the Mishnah says this is not something that happened internally with the horse or the donkey. This is something that happened externally. So therefore, the renter, the maskir, is not liable to pay. So similarly here, some say, if the extermination is due to external sources, this is something. What's external? They built something, a nest outside of the house, and that's causing misery or whatever. You wouldn't be responsible to pay. However, if the nest is built in a hole in the wall, now the hole in the wall is what created a structural damage or inner damage. And that problem can be attributed to some defect in the house, in the internal part of the house, and then the landlord would be liable to pay. Either way, if it's something. Now, I was just thinking when I saw this discussion, it comes out from this, based on these achronim, that if all the bugs and all the mice or whatever came about because the family was not hygiene properly and they were eating this food all over the place, obviously you can't ask the landlord to pay for the exterminator because you brought it upon yourself. But even if it happened, it depends where the problem is coming from. If it's not part of the structure of the house, then it's not a responsibility, a liability that the landlord is responsible to pay.